Last time on the Skip and Josh podcast.
With the pitching changes and the trips to the mound and, they're gonna be long.
There's at least a half an hour of actual TV time of just showing the managers in the dugout.
The Skip and Josh podcast is on now.
Hello.
Skippy.
What's happening?
How are you?
I'm exhausted.
So am I. I'm glad you said that.
You know why I'm exhausted?
Yes, but tell me.
Baseball playoff games last 4.5 hours.
The baseball playoffs are killing me. They
Honestly?
have to start the games earlier because this 8 o'clock start with 4-hour games is not going to work.
Yeah. It's crazy because, NHL is like going strong right now, right? Season started, underway. Teams have played, 4, even 5 games maybe.
I can't tell you anything about the NHL.
And NFL is still huge, right? It's things are starting to take shape. Playoffs, you're starting to see some of the pretenders and the contenders. But like, as long as there's baseball on, that's all I really care about. It's like, it's really all I really care about. It's like, if there's a baseball playoff game on, it's like, I gotta be in front of the TV watching it. I can't like look away from it.
It's interesting that you say that because yesterday I asked you, are you watching baseball or football? And your answer was both. And my philosophy is if you're watching both, you're watching neither. Because there's no way you can be invested in either game if you're flipping back and forth. No,
the beauty of these 4.5 hour baseball games is that you don't have to watch every second and still know what's going on.
But yesterday you did because there were so many strange things that happened that if you flipped away for a minute, you didn't know what was going on.
So I was fully invested in the Eagles game. That's what we were watching. We make a lot of fun of the Thursday night football, but like there was a really good game this week, and next week is Raiders Chiefs. It's another like interdivision, divisional rivalry. So I think they stepped up their games, although the Color Rush uniforms are still crazy. But anyways, we can get on to football another time. I know we wanted to focus on baseball.
Yeah. This episode, there's too much to talk about just with baseball alone. So, and I'm not going to go like game by game or series by series. I'm going to be all over the map here.
Yeah. Well, look, let's just get a couple things out of the way. I don't think you have very much to say about the Red Sox Astros series, do you?
I have a little bit.
And do you have anything to say about the Dodgers D-backs?
Very little.
Very little. It's like
even
Dodgers
less,
D-backs.
Even less than the Astros series.
Yeah, Dodgers D-backs was expected. The Dodgers rolled over them, and that was that.
The reason I have nothing to tell you about the Dodgers series is 2 reasons. One, it was a sweep, so if you blinked, you missed it.
Yeah.
And the second reason is all those games started at 10 o'clock at night or later.
Yeah.
So I maybe lasted until the 3rd inning if I was lucky.
The Dodgers game was, because of the time zone, was completely off the radar. Yeah.
So I don't even know, like, did they actually play it? I know the Dodgers won, but like, did they actually play the games or did they just get a bye?
You just saw the score and you said, oh, that's it.
Yeah. I have no idea.
It's like they were given a score and then you don't know if they actually played or not, or just the score was made up.
Exactly. I have no clue.
Could be the ultimate fake news,
It's true.
Yeah. So then what did you want to talk about the Red Sox Astros at all?
Couple things. First of all,
first things first, I'm not really.
So before the series started, everyone's talking about this great pitching matchup in Game 1 with Chris Sale, the hired gun they got in the offseason, and Justin Verlander, the hired gun they got at the trade deadline. And it didn't even materialize. The Astros destroyed Chris Sale. It wasn't even a close. And then Game 2, when I saw the score of Game 2 on my app, I'm like, okay, that was the score of Game 1. I want to know what happened in Game 2.
Same thing.
It was the same score. I thought it was a typo on my app. I didn't even realize they'd won 2 games by the same exact score.
Right.
But the main thing I wanted to say was, I'm going to rip every single manager. Even the managers who are still alive in the playoffs, I'm going to rip them all. Because there was no business for the Astros to use Justin Verlander in that last game. They had a lead in the series. It wasn't do or die. I can understand if you're the Red Sox and, you lose, your season's over. I get that. Yeah. But the Astros didn't have to do that.
There was no need for desperation.
Not only that, the Astros actually have a good bullpen. They've had a good bullpen all season long. All these managers, I don't understand what happens when October 1st hits. It's like they forget everything that they ever knew and they start doing the dumbest things, all of them. Like
it's funny because using a starting pitcher in a relief role was like didn't always happen, right? So I don't know when it started, but like at a certain point it became, as each postseason comes, it becomes more and more popular. It's almost like they have to do it now, right? So it's like, oh, forget our relievers. Let's just throw our starters in there. But like Verlander, you have to treat him. He's a veteran. He can't go out there every day. Like it really made no sense at all.
Anyway, so the Astros won the game, so fine, whatever. But now I don't think Verlander's ready for game 1 tonight. And I guess he's pitching tomorrow in game 2. I'm not sure. I don't have the...
Well, I have the... Yeah,
yes, actually I do.
2.
Yeah, he's pitching game 2. So,
Yeah.
I mean, who's better? Keuchel, Verlander? You could argue this. It may end up not making a difference. But still, why bother using him in a situation like that when you had the lead in the series, and you have a good bullpen?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like that at all.
So you want to segue? You gave me 2 things that you said to segue into the other series. So first of all, the first thing you said was the pitching matchups, which I have something to say about, and then the managers, which is, I think, it could be a whole episode.
So, I mean,
But-
I don't want to even talk about the upcoming series yet.
No.
I want to
What
talk
I'm saying about the
series.
pitching matchups, is that, so, you said, oh, Sale versus Verlander was supposed to be this great pitching matchup, and normally for me, as like a really intelligent baseball fan, someone who knows more than 99% of all the other baseball fans.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the pitching matchups, and the pitching matchup to me tells me who's going to have the better chance of winning, and you can kind of see, like, when they're throwing Strasburg out there, well, yeah, the Nationals have a pretty good chance, right? But, like, the Yankees, they beat Kluber twice.
Yeah, so this is why it's because of that and other things that I disagree with you completely. The pitching matchup, in my opinion, means absolutely nothing.
I know you said it on our last episode. It doesn't necessarily matter, and I was like, I didn't want to push you. I didn't want to like start an argument. But I was
start
like,
an argument. I'm happy to start an argument.
But you're right, because
The pitching matchup, it means nothing, and I'll tell you why. Sure, if you have like Justin Verlander against, I don't know, Severino
yeah.
10 times in a row.
But that's what they had. Kluber's the Cy Young Award winner
Okay.
against Severino.
Yeah, but you didn't have it 10 times, you had it twice.
Yeah.
Once
okay.
or twice is what happens.
Right.
And in a short series, especially in a short series, a 5-game series, it's proven that anything can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, Cleveland lost 3 games this week. They lost 4 games the entire month of September.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in a huge sample size, yeah, it's obviously beneficial if you have the better pitcher more often than not. But, I mean, let's think back to remember when the Expos played the Dodgers and Bert Hooton beat the Expos twice in one series and
Yeah.
Ray Burris beat the Dodgers twice in one series?
Ray
Would
Burris.
have
Ray Burris was dominant in that series. It was unbelievable.
But before the series started, you never would have thought Ray Burris was going to win 1 or 2 games,
Yeah.
and you never thought Bert Hooton was going to win 2 games.
You're really bringing up some obscure stuff there.
So the pitching matchup means nothing, especially, and I mean, the Houston Astros batting order is just insane. So it doesn't even really matter who they're facing; they're going to rip them. It seems.
But most people said that about the Indians' batting lineup, and they just all fell asleep.
Well, part of the problem was that Edwin Encarnacion
Yeah.
was out for 2 games, or was it 3 games? I don't even remember.
I didn't realize how important he was to their lineup, in that he's the only real power hitter. I know there's Jay Bruce. I know there's Jay Bruce, but
Right, right.
he's not the same. He's not the same as Encarnacion. So without Encarnacion in there was a real lack of home runs. And like, as we talked about, I don't know, a few episodes ago, the way baseball is right now, it's home runs. That's how you score.
Yeah,
You know?
it's all or nothing.
Yeah. So I was shocked. Honestly, I was shocked that the Yankees were able to do it, especially Aaron Judge is basically useless. Literally, he's useless.
Well, he did hit some homers.
Well, he struck out every single time.
He struck out a lot, but that's
know?
exactly what he did in the regular season.
I know, but not this bad. I mean,
If-
you can't have this guy batting third in your lineup who's basically an automatic out.
If
you
he
know?
goes 1 for 4 every game and that one's a homer, that's a
Yeah.
good game for him.
Yeah, but it's more like 1 for 10 right now, if that. So he needs to straighten himself out if they're going to have any hope against the Astros. And it was the Yankees. The Yankees are dangerous, man. Their bullpen.
Their bullpen's great. There's no question that their
and
bullpen
imagine
is
if
great.
Betances could actually throw a strike. But Betances is out of the picture now, right? It's Robertson and Chapman, and now this guy
There's Green,
Canley, right? Yeah,
and Canley. Their bullpen's great.
Yeah.
There's no
So
question about it.
If they get some decent starts, which they did last time from Severino, they're dangerous. Although, like you said, the Astros batting order, it's tough, right? There's not a lot of weaknesses there. So I still give the edge to the Astros moving forward, but I mean, I think it's going to be a great series. I mean, the Yankees, I hate the Yankees. I hate the Yankees, but what they did to the Indians, I respect what they did,
Yeah, I mean, the Indians should have won. I feel bad a little bit for the Indians fans who, they thought that they were going to go back to the World Series and they thought that this was their year.
Yeah.
And they haven't had a taste of anything in, 50 years or something? I don't know when the last time Cleveland won the World Series.
But it's like as if the Indians from the last month kind of disappeared. They made 9 errors in those 5 games?
I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me.
They forgot how to field, and there's other plays that there was no errors that are called that are just bad fielding plays. Kipnis is playing center. He doesn't know how to play outfield. He can go run around and catch the ball, but there was a tag play on a very shallow fly ball with an average runner, Frazier, at third base, and he scored because Kipnis didn't really have the proper technique of throwing home. They showed it.
I don't know why a second baseman's playing center field. I have no idea.
The defense for Cleveland was astoundingly bad. Honestly, I was shocked how bad.
Meanwhile,
it was.
Did you see the last out of that series, by the way?
Remind me.
Okay, so it was Aroldis Chapman on the mound. And he struck out. I don't even know who he struck out, but he struck someone out.
Yeah.
And it was swinging.
Okay.
I think it was swinging. But the Yankees catcher dropped the ball on the third strike and didn't tag the batter and didn't throw the ball to first base, and the ump called the batter out, and the only one who noticed it, other than me apparently, was Chase Headley, because after the game they showed the reaction of every single position player on the Yankees as they were running in to congratulate Chapman.
Yeah.
And you see Headley pointing at the
base.
ball, pointing at the ball and yelling at his catcher, throw to first, throw to first. He never threw to first. So that batter still to this day is not out.
Well, he went to the dugout, so he's out. He broke his baseline.
Fine, but I mean, I don't know why all of a sudden the rules don't apply. Like, I don't get it.
Don't get me started on the rules. I don't even think the umps, neither manager, none of the players or the umps knew the rules for catcher interference yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday's game was insane. How many broken windows were there in yesterday?
It's funny, my son, who doesn't watch baseball a lot, but all of a sudden watched a lot of playoff baseball, he's like, it seems like every second run is scored on a wild pitch. That's what he told me.
Well, in his league, that's what happens.
But
in he plays
in that series, that's what was happening.
Yeah, it was a very strange game last night.
Well,
but I have to. Are we on to the Cubs now? Is that what we're on to?
It depends where you want to go with it. It's up to you.
Because I have a lot to say about yesterday's game. Like we can just do a full episode just on yesterday's game.
I can see the listeners don't realize that we started recording. We started doing the chat part of our thing by Skype video, so we could actually see each other now. Mm-hmm. And I could see you're right. You're fired up. You're ready to roll. You have a lot to say. Yeah.
So I don't even know where to start. First of all, every single manager that's in the playoffs, they're taking their starting pitchers out way too early.
Look, one manager was Dusty Baker. He has no idea how to run a pitching staff. He never has, and he still doesn't. Honestly, I don't think Dusty Baker knew what day of the week it was yesterday. The man looks like he's lost.
You could be right, but during the regular season, Dusty was leaving his pitchers in too long. And then all of a sudden, he does the complete opposite. And then, so he brings in a pitcher who actually threw a perfect inning, Matt Albers.
Hey, it's Matt Albers!
And he has to pinch hit for him because he's coming up to bat the next inning. So if you know that your pitcher's coming up to bat the next inning, maybe you want to leave Gio in one more inning before you bring in another guy.
I felt like he didn't even want to start Gio, and he couldn't wait to get him out of there.
The other thing is, I get that Tanner Roark is not the best pitcher on the planet, but he's fresh. He hasn't thrown since, I think, the regular season, and he's a starting pitcher, meaning if you're going to bring someone in the 4th or 5th inning that you want to stay in potentially for 3 or 4 or 5 innings, Tanner Roark is the first guy you should bring in.
I feel that they had Scherzer there, and whether Scherzer lobbied Baker or whether Baker just wanted to use Scherzer, he had it set in his mind that Scherzer was coming in. no matter what.
It was like last year with what Joe Madden did with the Cubs. Was it when he brought in Lester in relief?
Yeah.
When he said that he was not going to bring Lester in the middle of an inning, and he brought Lester in the middle of an inning.
Yeah.
It was just like that.
Joe Madden too. Like you're saying, the managers don't know. I feel like Joe Madden's basically making stuff up as he goes.
Yeah, Joe Madden. He left Davis in for 2 1/3 yesterday. Davis has never done that. What's he doing?
Look, they're not these delicate flowers. They're capable of pitching more than one inning.
But
get it. Davis is clearly out of gas. He gave up the home run to Taylor the day before, right?
Yeah.
So you already knew he's a little bit shaky because when Davis is going good, you're not getting anything off him. It's game over, right? Like,
right.
He
did
he's
have
more automatic than
30 something saves this year, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but he had him in for like almost 3 innings. It was like it made a lot of drama because he really didn't know what was going to happen.
No, he's going to treat Davis the way he treated Chapman last year. He's just going to use and abuse him. I mean, and the problems all start because if you take your starting pitcher out in the 3rd or 4th inning, well then of course you're going to have problems when it comes to the 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Right.
Because who do you have left?
Yeah, the Cubs had no one left. The Cubs were ready to bring in.
Well, they had guys, but they just didn't want to bring anyone.
It was John Lackey was going to come in.
I would have rather that. At least Lackey, when he comes into games, he's used to pitching a full game.
Yeah, and I mean he's pitched in more pressure situations than any of them, than any of those guys.
The Cubs are lucky that game didn't go into extra innings because they would have been toast. Then again, the Nationals bullpen sucks too.
Yeah, well, look, it would have been Tanner Roark versus Lackey, and we would have seen that would have decided it.
Yeah, so it would have been like a game 6, even though there was no game 6. It would have been, here we go.
What else do you have to say about the managers? You're going to take a shot at Farrell even though he got fired?
No, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't think he deserved to get fired. He's had a great record ever since he got there. Yeah. It's not, I keep saying this to you, it's not the manager's fault. Sometimes, it's the manager's fault if like Joe Girardi doesn't challenge a play and clearly it would have been overturned and that cost him the game. The Yankees actually, they should have won that series in 4 games, not 5, because Girardi blew that. He totally blew it.
He did.
But I mean, you can't blame Farrell for what the Red Sox did. What if you were the manager of the Red Sox? What, you wouldn't have started Chris Sale in game 1? You would have had a different batting order? You know who I blame? You know who I blame, actually? I don't blame John Farrell. I blame the general manager because they could have signed Edwin Encarnacion instead of Mitch Moreland. And don't tell me that wouldn't have made a difference for the Red Sox.
When we were recording in the off season during the winter, and we're talking about what moves teams are going to make, it seemed like Encarnacion to the Red Sox seemed like a foregone conclusion. Like I was positive that it was going to happen. I was already like, okay, Ortiz is going to retire and they're going to get Encarnacion. He's going to DH. And then when it didn't happen, I was like in shock, But then the Red Sox really didn't address that lack of power.
I think they were the least homer team in the majors this year, or very low.
They're still a good team. They won the division. They're still a good team. And I don't think Farrell did anything to make them lose, and I don't think any other manager is going to do more to make them win.
Right.
Right.
So I don't know why he got fired. I mean, I know why he got fired, but I don't agree with it.
They're impatient. They want championships.
The other thing I want to talk about the media. The media drives me crazy.
The baseball media?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on in the media that's driving me a lot more crazy, but the baseball seems to be okay.
For example, okay, let's take any 3-game series in the middle of July, for example.
Yeah.
You're going to have guys, even your best player is going to have a bad series here and there. He's going to go, 0 for 15, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. And it doesn't even matter because it's 3 games out of 162 games. For example, the Nationals, I think 5 of their top 6 hitters up until yesterday were a combined 5 for 55 or something, which is brutal. It's terrible. I get it. But I mean, what are you going to do? You're not going to all of a sudden bench your regular starters that you used all season long. Yeah. So I don't blame Dusty Baker on the batting order that he used. He used the same 8 guys for every game, which I would have done also. You go with your best players. Sure, they're in a slump. Okay, they had a bad game 1. They had a bad game 2. They had a bad week. It's not the manager's fault. And the media are overreacting. Oh my God, Trey Turner, he can't hit a ball. Jason Worth, he can't hit a ball, and Ryan Zimmerman, he can't hit a ball. You're right, they didn't hit. But like, what are you going to do? You can't go and make a trade. It's October now.
Yeah, well, they have no one else to bring in, right? I mean, maybe there's one guy that's interchangeable on every team, where you can start this guy or you could start that guy, like teams have, 8 hitters, but like I'm sure, they have at least one guy in the bench they can bring in. But yeah, what are they supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? If Trey Turner doesn't know how to hit, if Zimmerman doesn't know how to hit, what can you do? Right?
Yeah,
plus, don't forget, it's hard to hit in the playoffs because the pitching is so good.
Well, usually until you get to the bullpen.
During the regular season, you don't face John Lester and Arrieta like 4 times in 5 days.
And Kyle Hendricks is probably their best pitcher,
or whoever. Just as an example. Yeah.
So I'm not done. But I'm not letting you talk here, so you might want to pipe in somewhere here.
I'm piping in every chance I get.
No, but I mean, I'm bringing up the topics.
Yeah, keep it going. Keep it going.
So this we can go on for days, my next topic. This is one of the few days in the last, I think, 15 years where I am so thrilled that the Expos left Montreal. Let me tell you something. The Nationals/Expos franchise is cursed. Washington, D.C., when they got the Expos, they received damaged goods. Because how many times, what happened to the Nationals this year and last year and in 2012, those same things happened to the Montreal Expos. No one in the States knows about it, but we know about it. How many times were the Expos...
The difference is the Nationals actually have been in the playoffs where the Expos weren't.
Right, but the Nationals haven't won a series ever.
Yeah. Although it's the wild card era. So the Expos, how many times could the Expos would have been in that wild card game? A lot of times, right? We're second place so many times.
Agreed. But how many times were the Expos supposed to be like the team of the 80s? They were supposed to contend every single year. And then in 94, they had the best record in baseball and the playoffs never happened.
Let me give you a parallel. 1987, the year they got Langston. You remember the series when they were kind of basically that was it? It was against the Cubs, and a certain player got picked off of first base. Jeff Houston. I wanted to see if you knew his name. So is the Lobaton the new Jeff Houston?
Exactly what I was thinking when he got picked off yesterday. I was thinking exact same thing. I'm glad you brought that up.
I read your mind there. That's
no,
crazy.
You did. But speaking of that play, I was going to talk about that play. I saw the replay 100 times. There's no way he might have been out, maybe, but there's no way they can overturn that call because the evidence was not conclusive that he was out. And in order to overturn a call, the evidence must be conclusive. That was not conclusive. If I'm the Nationals, I'm pissed. I'm pissed about that call.
I mean, look, bad calls are part of baseball. Forget about instant replay. Let's go 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The St. Louis Cardinals basically lost the World Series because of a bad call. So, I mean, bad calls are part of it. Like that, you live with bad calls. There's been bad calls throughout history. And now what we're finding out is, even with the instant replay, there's still bad calls.
Right.
It's just that because the instant replay, everything's being held to like a higher standard, right? Everything, we're expecting 100% accuracy. But like, they still get it wrong.
But in that case yesterday, all they had to do was say, the video is inconclusive. We're sticking with the call on the field.
But that's what I'm saying. They still get it wrong.
Unbelievable. I mean, I don't care. I'm not a Nats fan. I'm not a Cubs fan. I don't care. But if I'm a Nats fan, I'm pissed about that almost more than anything that happened.
Oh, look. I'm not ever going to cheer for the Nats. Ever. And I'm not overjoyed that they lost, but I did not want them to win, so I'm happy that the Cubs won. But yeah. If you're a Nats fan, that game sucked. Because I don't know if you listen to Wilbon and Kornheiser today talking about this.
I did.
Wilbon had a good take on this. Actually, and I don't like Wilbon.
No, Wilbon was a little bit. I didn't like what he said so much. But what part did you like?
But I like one thing that he said is that the Nationals should have won that game. Like, there's no way they should have not won that game. And by a series of weird circumstances, bad calls, weird managerial decisions, bad plays, crazy rules, they lost.
But both teams got screwed by that.
Yes, they did. But it's just, I think the National fans feel that they should have won that game. And somehow they woke up this morning and the Cubs are still playing,
I just want to say something to everyone, all the listeners in Washington, D.C. You can keep your baseball team. I don't want them back because they're cursed.
But what if we get a new team? Will they still be cursed?
No, because that's a new team. There's no history, right?
Okay, good. I gotcha.
We're getting a clean slate if we get a new team.
Yeah, okay. What do you make of that play with Wieters, the catcher interference?
So you have to refresh my memory because they were talking about it on the radio this morning, but I don't recall which play exactly.
There was a man on second and third. Mm-hmm. I forget who the batter was. He struck out.
Yeah.
But
and the ball went
got past Wieters.
Yeah.
He chased it down.
Right, and he threw it into right field.
He threw it into right field, and because of that, the guy on third scored.
Okay, so he blew it. It's like strike three, you drop the ball. You got to throw to first. Come on. These are rules you learn in Little League.
On the instant replay, it showed that on the backswing of the batter, it hit Wieters in the helmet.
Did it, though?
It looked like it did.
And so I don't even know what's the rule on that.
That's it. I mean, I was on Twitter last night and people were posting the rules and like even in the rules, it's ambiguous because it's up. Interference is not a black and white thing. It's like a gray area. It's like, did the act of him hitting him in the helmet interfere with his ability to catch the ball? And the answer is no, because the ball was already in the backstop when it hit him. Right?
So there you go. So yeah. I don't think anything was wrong there.
Yeah. And actually, Wieters came up and started making excuses. You know,
I saw
it hit me. But
now.
You know what? If he doesn't throw to first and just accepts that the guy's going to be on first, a run doesn't score there.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
They weren't smart. I find it so hard to believe. Like when I watch baseball now, like I told you, there was 9 errors in that Yankee series, right? I feel like there's no more fundamentals.
Well, because they're all just going up there trying to hit homers.
Yeah.
And it's like you got these power hitters who don't care about their batting average. They don't care about defense, other than the shortstop on every team and maybe the second baseman on every team.
Yeah.
Those are the only guys who know how to play defense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the only great play that I saw in this whole series, when you talk about fundamentals, and now I know I'm picking on Wieters, but I think it was Wieters. They played a shift. It was... God.
Yes, it was. And he laid down a bunt and he was safe.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was right out of a video game, that.
That's what you should do.
Yeah.
Most guys, they see the shift, they hit right into the shift. They don't care.
It's like David Ortiz would come up. They put this crazy shift on him. Every single guy is on the right side. There's 12 guys on the right side. There's no one on the left side. And David Ortiz still gets a single to right.
Yeah. And there was later in the game, they put a shift on a guy. It might have been Wieters again. I'm not sure. Yeah. And he hit a single right over the second baseman's head who was playing shallow right field. He hadn't played perfectly. He just wasn't tall enough.
They had the defense that they used to play against you.
Right. Well, no one was playing in the outfield against me.
Keep it going. What else you got?
Well, then, we could talk about the John Jay slide, which... he didn't really leave his base path. He did keep his hands on the base. So according to the rule in the book, that he actually followed the rules, but his legs did come in and hit Murphy. Although Murphy threw the ball before that happened, so I don't think that had any effect on it.
No, I think that's not anything worth talking about. It's whatever,
You know what surprises me? Speaking of fundamentals. Not anytime, but a lot of times when you see a ball hit in the infield and there's going to be a close play at first, the batter who's running to first, there's that 45-foot line where the batter needs to be so that in case it's a bunt and the catcher has to throw, he has a clear line of sight to the first baseman. So many times you see the batter is running in fair
inside
territory.
The line.
Do they not know the rules? Do they not care?
I think they do it on. I'm sure they know the rules, and I think a lot of guys do it on purpose just to push the limit of the rules. You know what I mean?
But if the ball hits you, you're out.
It's like in football, they say there could be holding on every play, and they want to dare the umps to call it. You know the complaint I have about the Seahawks, the way they play defense, pass interference on every play, they're daring the refs to call it. I feel like a lot of the runners are doing that on purpose. And just pushing the umpires to the limit. Like, are you going to call me out? But probably not. So maybe it's going to force a wild throw.
And then there was a play yesterday. Wilson Contreras, he was out at first, and instead of stepping on the left part of the base, which was completely wide open for him, he stepped on Zimmerman's foot.
Yeah, I don't think that was on purpose.
I don't think it was either. But if I'm Zimmerman, I'm pissed. Come on, you've got the whole base to step on. You have to step on my foot.
Maybe they need the safety bases.
Maybe.
We're going to get to that maybe, right? One day?
Unbelievable.
By the way, Wilson Contreras is a hell of a catcher, by the way.
Unreal.
His arm is unreal.
But the other thing I'll tell you about the Cubs, this Cubs team is not as good as last year's Cubs team. I mean, yes, they won and they advanced. I don't think they're as good as last year's Cubs team.
Well, Lester's just as good. Arrieta, it could still come up big. Hendricks is good.
No, but they lost their center fielder to the Cardinals. I forget his name.
Yeah, Fowler, but I'm not crazy about him. Yeah, big deal. You know,
and Schwarber had an awful year. Then again, he had no year last year.
Schwarber, he's so bad. You see his cat in left field? He dropped that ball.
He can't move. He can't move on the bases. Like when he runs, he almost got picked off yesterday.
Did you see that he dented the wall?
Yeah, that probably happens all the time though. Because the wall is like made of memory foam. I could dent the wall.
I know, but like that was a long single, no?
Yes, it was.
I mean, I still think Schwarber is a dangerous hitter, you know, and like he can come up in a key situation against a righty, and like I'd be scared of him. But like somehow Bryant and Rizzo are not as scary as they were last year, and I don't know, but they're still a good team. They're still a good team. The one thing that one of the announcers said, and I was like, oh, really? Cubs had the best record in the National League after the All-Star break.
Well, they had to because they were 5 games back at the All-Star break.
But you know that the Nationals had a great season, and you know the Dodgers had a great season.
Yes.
But yet somehow, the second half of the year, the last 60 games, the Cubs were the best. So
well, what happens when you have such a huge lead like the Dodgers did and the Nationals did? You take it easy a little bit.
You do,
that's
sure.
You take the foot off the pedal.
So I mean, are you looking forward to like these next 2 series? Like,
well. You know, we're not going to go an episode without me mentioning the schedule. You know that.
I'm here to put you back on schedule.
When the schedule comes out before the postseason begins, it's clear, like you notice it, it's not a secret. They always have a day off between games if there's a travel day. Which, by the way, that doesn't happen in the regular season. The regular season, they play every day. So all of a sudden in October, they need an extra day to travel?
They might have a day on a Thursday sometimes.
Sometimes, but not all the time.
Not all the time.
And I get it. They need this day to travel. But meanwhile, there was a rain out. So they had to play Game 5 the day after Game 4. And they had to travel to Washington, D.C. And they didn't have a day in between the games. And they were able to play the game. And all the players arrived there on time. And no one was too tired to wake up and play the game. So if they could have done it there, why can't they do it the entire series?
I don't know. You're right. They should. So that's the schedule.
I'm just saying.
Well, the good thing about the schedule is there's no 10:30 games.
No, well, now there's only 4 teams left.
Yeah, but it looks like those games are going to start at 8:00 on the
right. But those 8:00 games are still, if the game goes 4 hours, you're in bed after midnight.
Yesterday's game was mental. Like honestly, the length of the game was obscene.
It ended later than the football game, and I've never seen that.
It ended later than the football game. I watched the whole football game, and I was still able to watch 2.5 innings of the baseball uninterrupted.
I know. It's like when I have hockey. I didn't have hockey last night, but when I have hockey, I come home, it's late. I figure, the game's over. I'll turn it on, and it's like still the 8th inning or the 7th inning or something.
That's part of the beauty of the playoff baseball is that like no matter what you can do, you can go out for dinner, you can have a great time, go out for dinner, you can go see a movie, you can go do whatever.
You can do your laundry, you can go for a bike ride.
You can come home and then still see like 3/4 of the game, or at least, a good portion of it, the most important parts.
So anyway, now that Cleveland's out, in the American League, I have to root for the Astros wholeheartedly.
Me too. Well, I mean, I'm rooting for them mostly because of Kate Upton, but...
that's a good reason.
But I'm rooting for the Astros for sure.
Like, I definitely don't want the Yankees to go any further. I didn't even want them to get this far.
No, I agree.
And you'll be surprised that I want the Dodgers to beat the Cubs because the Cubs won last year, and I'm enough with the Cubs. Joe Madden, he's lucky he's survived this long. He's got like 9 lives.
Who's the manager of the Dodgers?
Isn't it
Dave Roberts?
Dave Roberts.
So we'll have the battle of the brains there. Like Dave Roberts is also kind of a weird manager that does a lot of strange stuff. So we could see some interesting decisions. Although the Cubs haven't announced who their starter is going to be for Game 1, so I don't know.
No, they haven't. Well, I mean, they just finished playing last night.
But we do know now from watching the Cubs Nationals, we do know that actually anything could happen because we saw John Lester pick someone off.
Yeah.
So that means actually anything could happen.
Yes.
Nothing should shock you anymore.
Nothing should shock you. Ever since Wayne Gretzky got traded from the Oilers to the Kings, nothing should ever shock you in your entire life since that.
This is true. Whenever weird things happen in the world, not just in sports, in anything. And then people are like, "Oh my God, how could that be?" Well, Wayne Gretzky got traded. Anything could happen. I always
To
bring that up.
me, that after that happened, nothing ever surprised me since after that.
Yeah, I think that's a great philosophy to live by. Words to live by, for sure. Well, I did have some other notes. I just wanted to say like one little thing before we close the show.
Yeah, please.
So I don't want to get into politics. We already said why we don't want to talk about politics on this show. But have you been following everything with the Jamel Hill and ESPN and all this?
Yeah, she got
Not really.
suspended because she
Yeah.
made a comment. I don't even know exactly what it was.
It's ridiculous. The whole thing is like, it's just nonsense already at this point. I don't even want to get into like politics and whatever. I just want to say like, I'm happy that we have our own show because we can say whatever we want and no one will suspend us. So
you could suspend me.
Yeah, well, we can speak perfectly freely without worrying about like what advertisers are going to say or what sponsors are going to say or what the big boss is going to say because we're the bosses and we have no advertisers.
I don't know if we're proud of that fact.
We're not proud of it, but that's the way it is, right? So in a way, it like unencumbers us and it lets us just say what the hell we want, right?
Exactly.
All right. So before we sign off, remember you can listen and subscribe to new and archived episodes of the Skip and Josh podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Google Play. And if you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. We would love to hear from you via email, skipandjoshshow@gmail.com, via Twitter @skipandjosh, or by liking and following our Facebook page. And as always, you can get all the links to everything that I just said at our website, skipandjosh.com.
Beautiful. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Great talking to you, Josh.
The Skip and Josh podcast is over now. Don't worry, there'll be another episode soon.